Stuka Joe here. People constantly ask me, Joe, how is it that you film your videos? What equipment or software or applications you use? And how is it that you edit them? Well, instead of just telling you, I'm going to show you in this video. We will be shooting clips showing a war game and showing certain war game mechanics, and I will be using my iPhone 11 Pro, and I will be using FiLMiC Pro, which is a terrific app that gives you full control of visual parameters and some audio parameters in your video. FiLMiC Pro comes for iOS and Android devices, and it costs $15. And then after we film those clips, we're going to edit them in another application that is available also for iOS and Android devices. It's called VLLO, and it costs $6.99. And after I show you how these clips are filmed and edited, we will render the final video and we will upload it to YouTube. And eventually I will be doing a live workshop, and that's a live stream video where you can join along and ask me any questions that you have. Now, I'll also tell you how you can start filming wargaming videos without breaking the bank, and I'll show you the equipment with which to do it. So, let's go to the table. We will be shooting 14 video clips, and if you want to follow along, just pull out any hex encounter game, a one mapper, and follow along in this exercise. You don't have to actually set up the game. We have this map underneath a sheet of plexiglass, and of course the problem of plexiglass is that any nearby lights can easily show up on your video. And I'm filming this video with plexiglass on purpose because I know that most people, for paper maps, that's the approach they will use. They will use plexiglass. So we will be handling that issue very soon. Now, I recommend that you shoot your video in a room where you have at least 2 points of light. I have an LED panel to the left of the table here, and I have another LED panel to the right. Now notice that I have a soft box here, but I will not be using it. Later in another video I'll show you how to use soft boxes. So you need at least 2 points of light. And now I'm going to show you the equipment with which you can start filming wargaming videos. Here we have our iPhone 11 Pro set up on a desk tripod, and this particular desk tripod is the Manfrotto Mini Desk Tripod. And you can see here that it has a button that allows you to move the camera around very easily and change the angle and the position of the camera. And it is very sturdy. It has rubberized legs, so it's a firm base and a very reliable tripod. You can get it at Amazon for around $21. Now, in addition to the tripod, you will need something to hold your smartphone. And we see here this iPhone holder, and I recommend, if you want to continue later and upgrade your audio and leave options open, get one that has a cold shoe. This allows you later to attach, for example, a receiver like the Rode Go 2, which is a wireless receiver of quality that will improve your sound enormously. And by having the cold shoe there, it will not interfere in the process of filming videos. And you also need, between the camera holder and the tripod, this ball head. And this ball head is necessary because you want to have a 45-degree angle, like shown here, so that your camera can capture the map very closely. So that's the purpose of the ball head. Otherwise, if you connect the holder directly to the tripod, you won't be able to get that type of angle with the camera. So those are the things you need. Now, with that, you could shoot video and you can edit them using the app that I told you, VLLO. Now, I recommend if you do have any sort of microphone that you can attach to your smartphone, go ahead. I will be attaching this one. This is the Shure MV88. This is a condenser type microphone, high quality, just to make sure that we have good audio in this recording. I will later make another video showing you audio options of different prices and also quality. So we attach this here. And now let's take a closer look at how FiLMiC Pro works. Here we see our iPhone running FiLMiC Pro, and we have left the controls visible so we can show you around. Now, the two most important that you see here are the exposure and autofocus settings. And here you see the exposure is a circle. And we always want to shoot our videos with the exposure locked. And you do that by just tapping on the circle and it turns red. That way you don't have fluctuations of lighting in your video when you are pointing your camera at one part of the map and then changing to another. The autofocus is this rectangle here. We want to tap it twice in order to use the wider autofocus. So there we go. Now the radius of action of the autofocus will be wider, and we want to leave the autofocus on. Now there's a series of settings that we will now go into in FiLMiC Pro. But before that, depending on the phone that you have, FiLMiC Pro will show you the lenses that you have available. And we will tap on this circle here to open the lenses that we have. See, we have the selfie camera, which will not be used here for any purpose, but just to show you that FiLMiC Pro can access it. And now we go to the next one, which is the tele camera. And that is the closest camera. That is the one that gives you a close view of the subject. And then the next lens that you have is the wide lens. And you will be using the wide lens very often. And also remember that you will be able, with FiLMiC Pro, as shown here by this lever, you can zoom in and zoom out. So you'll be able to use the digital zoom, but we don't want to abuse the digital zoom because too much of it will distort the image. And if you have an iPhone 11 Pro, then the bottom lens is the ultra-wide lens, which gives you a wider view of the area. And I like to use this type of lens in order to show the footprint of the game. But let's return now to the wide-angled lens. Now let's go to the settings, and we hit this cog button here, and it opens the settings. And we will go first to resolution. And resolution, I like to film in 1080p. I really don't find the convenience yet of shooting 4K video. 1080p doesn't eat up as much memory, but make sure that you have the next setting set to FiLMiC Extreme, which is the highest quality that FiLMiC Pro can provide. So there's economy, and there's also Apple Standard, FiLMiC Quality, and FiLMiC Extreme. And also I like to use the high efficiency codec setting. So the next parameter is resolution. We will be shooting at 60 frames per second, which I find is a smooth setting. You can also use instead 30 frames per second. And make sure that the capture and playback are the same so that you can monitor on your video whatever you are filming at the correct frames per second. I won't be using 24 frames per second. That's known as the cinematic frames per second, because to achieve a cinematic result with motion blur and all that, you have to adjust other settings, which we will not do in this particular video, but I will be shooting at 60 frames per second. The next parameter is audio, and one thing that FiLMiC Pro does well is that it will tell you which microphone you're actually using and will allow you to control the volume levels, the input. And here it tells us that we are using the Shure MV88, which is the microphone that we just plugged a little while ago. And we're using PCM and 48 kilohertz, which is the highest setting. Now here we have the levels of the input, and you see that it is kind of clipping when I talk loudly. It's going into yellow and red, so we have to reduce that level here. And now it's all in the green. So now we won't have that clipping, so that's important, and that's another advantage of using FiLMiC Pro over the native app, which doesn't have that type of control. Let's go back to our settings, and now let's go to device. We will not save to camera roll, and also the orientation lock, which is important, we will leave it on because we want to make sure we are always at a 16:9 aspect ratio, which is the one used by YouTube. Next is presets, and you can save all these settings easily by tapping the save button, and let's type in here settings. So next time we want these exact settings, we will be able to access them by tapping their settings. In addition, we want the stabilization down here to be on. Now it's off, we'll leave it on. And also, it's important, this guide here is important that we use it because it allows us to, for example, see, you can see the lines there. For example, here you see these lines because we want to keep things in the center of the screen, so these lines are helpful for that purpose. And we have our settings in place. So let's shoot our video clips. Okay, so now we're going to shoot our 14 clips. The first clip will be a clip showing just the box, and we will be later in the editing process applying a zoom in effect to the box. So now we will press the record button and start talking. I like to use the shoot and narrate approach. So while we're shooting a video, we're also narrating what's going on. If we screw up, we simply delete that last clip and go again. And we also start talking 1 second after the recording button has been pressed, and we finish talking 1 second before we press that stop button, because in the editing process we're going to apply a dissolve transition which will create an overlap of all our clips of 1 second. So here we go. Stuka Joe here. Today we're going to take a look at A Splendid Little War, a game designed by Andy Nunez and published by Khyber Pass Games. So we got our first clip already set. Now the second clip is going to be one showing the components on the map, like give you an idea of the footprint of the components. So for that, we just move the camera, and we will place it like in the corner of the table, like so here. And we'll try to not get that glare there. And let's see. And here you have to play around because we have that plexiglass. You have to play around with the angle of the camera, and there we go. We don't have a lot of glare there. So it's going to be another 10-second shot, and we're going to give general information about the game. So here we go. This is a two-player game that recreates the battles around Santiago de Cuba during the Spanish-American War. Okay, so we have our second clip. The third clip, we're going to show actually the map, the terrain on the map, and later in post-production we will apply what is known as a panning effect. So we want to now get like an angle closer to the map. So again, we press here the button and we can lower the camera, and want to make sure we don't catch any of that glare. And so here's what the camera shows, and we're going to film another 10-second shot, and then in post-production we're going to have a panning effect either from left to right or right to left, and we want always to press that exposure lock button. So here we go. The map shows the city of Santiago de Cuba and its harbor and its surrounding areas. And the map includes forts, heights, rivers, and swamps. Okay, so we just finished that clip. And now the next clip, we will be showing a counter on the map. And for that, we will be switching to the tele lens. So that's this particular lens that we have to select here, which is this one. So we have the tele lens, and let's place this unit here, this Spanish unit, in a particular hex here, and we want to get the camera close. And you see there we have to again adjust the angle by pressing the button on the tripod. And now this is the digital zoom that we talked about. You can use it, but don't abuse it. The application, which is FiLMiC Pro, tells you if the image will be distorted. And let's take a closer look here. Here you see, for example, that I'm going to zoom in. And you see that it is green there, so that's okay. But if you zoom in too much, it will distort the image. See, now it's orange, so you want to stay away from that. So here we have a pretty good shot, and now we will of course narrate what's going on, and this is going to be also a 10-second clip. Here we see a typical Spanish unit, the 1st Company of the Asia Battalion, with a combat strength of 2 and a movement factor of 6, and it starts in Fort Canosa. So we just finished that clip. The next clip will be actually a sequence of 2 clips showing a unit moving. And we can show here movement, not by moving the camera or anything, but just by using a dissolve transition in post-production. We're going to show this same unit moving. So the first clip is going to be 5 seconds long, and the unit is going to stay there. And in the second clip, we're going to move it to this hex and then shoot the second clip. So here we go. And the 1st company moves from Fort Canosa. We place it here. And then we shoot the second clip and narrate to the position shown here in San Juan Hill. Okay, so we just filmed that movement sequence of 2 clips. Next, we're going to show a battle sequence with 3 units. We're going to have 2 US units and a Spanish unit, and we will be placing them here near Los Mangos. And we'll have the Americans attack the Spanish, and the Spanish will be retreating in this example. So again, we take our camera here and we move it around to make sure that we have a position that shows everything. We're using the telecamera. So we have it here, and this is going to be 2 clips. So we film the first one. The Americans attack the Spanish defending Los Mangos. And now the result is a retreat, and the Spanish will retreat across the river. The Spanish retreat across the river. And now we can film a third clip showing the Americans advancing into Los Mangos. Now comes the third clip. And the Americans occupy Los Mangos. So we have our battle sequence where we had a retreat. Now let's film a battle sequence where we have a unit eliminated. And we will shift the camera. Let's say that it is going to happen here in one of these forts near Santiago, here in Fort Canosa. And we have 3 American units this time, which will be attacking. So we place the camera there in an angle that you can capture everything. We're still using the tele lens. And now we film, it's going to be also 3 clips. First clip. The Americans attack the Spanish at Fort Canosa. And the unit is eliminated, so we remove it. The defenders are eliminated. And now we move one of the American units into the fort, and we film the third clip. And finally, the Americans capture Fort Canosa. So that's our battle sequence. Now the next clip that I will show you is one in which we will showcase another feature of VLLO later on, which allows us to move the view from one point to another, all in one clip. So what we will do for now is film one 12-second clip approximately, where we will state the forts that exist to the south of Santiago de Cuba. And later in post-production you will see the camera moving around from one fort to another, very smoothly and in a very pleasant way. So here we go. And south of Santiago de Cuba, the Spanish have 4 forts. Fort Horno, Fort Centro Benéfico, Fort Santa Úrsula, and Fort Los Canadas. And so that's that clip. And now we're going to film the last clip, which will be, again, we will be showing the box and fading, instead of zooming in, we'll be zooming out in post-production. So now we're going to switch cameras. Instead of using our tele camera, we're going to use our wide camera, and we're going to place the box so that it shows completely on the screen. We're going to hit that lock exposure button, and we're going to film a 10-second clip. Here we go. And that was a splendid little war designed by Andy Nunez and published by Kyber Pass Games. And this is Stuka Joe signing off for now. Thanks for watching. So we finished filming our clips, and now let's take a look at where these clips are stored in FiLMiC Pro. We hit this little play button here, and it opens the FiLMiC Pro file, and you can see the last clip here is the one that lasts 15 seconds. It tells us the date when it was filmed. It tells us the resolution 1080p, the audio quality 48 kilohertz, and the megabytes that it takes. And it shows us all the clips that we filmed, starting with the earliest one in the bottom. So now we're going to transfer all those clips to the camera roll. We hit this square there with the check mark. And so we have 14 clips, and now we're going to hit this next icon, which will save all these clips to our camera roll. And we hit the save button, and our 14 clips have been exported to the camera roll. Okay, so now let's get out of FiLMiC Pro here, and let's go to our camera roll. Here's our camera roll, and you will see that these are the last 14 clips that appear in the camera roll, and we start with this clip here. Next, we will transfer all the clips to our editing app, VLLO. Okay, we start by opening the VLLO app. And when we open, we see that Create Video /GIF box. And there's also a section below to store our project. So we're going to tap on Create Video. And that takes us to our camera roll. And here we can select the clips. And in the order that we tap on each clip, they will be placed below in the bottom part of the screen and then into a timeline. So we start by tapping on that 14-second clip. And you see that it placed it there in the lower part of the screen, then the 15-second clip, and we tap on all other clips until we have all 14 clips below. Now we tap on the red circle with the arrow. That takes us to this screen. We're gonna give it a title. We're gonna call this Demo. We hit the check mark. And make sure the aspect ratio is at 16:9, which is the one that YouTube uses, and content mode fit. And now we tap on Create Project. And the app places all the clips on a timeline, as you see here. And between clips, there is a box with a dot where we designate any transitions that we want to use. I like to use a cross-dissolve transition of 1 second in duration for all the clips, and then we can change transitions later as needed. So we place the playhead, which is that red line that you see there, on the box. We tap on the transition square. That opens the transition menu. We tap on dissolve, that is here, and it has placed a dissolve transition. And to play it, I will just scroll back and you'll see how the transition works. Now you see here in the duration section that it lasts a total of 1.5 seconds, which is the default. So what we will do is we will reduce it to 1 second. And now there's a double check mark here in the bottom left-hand corner. I tap there, and we see all our clips. And now we're going to place that same transition to between all clips. We select all, and then the check mark, and now all our clips have a 1 second dissolve transition. So we scroll back, and to play, we press this button here, that play button.
This is
okay. So we have, as you can see there, all transitions are now the same. Now we will create zoom effects and panning effects by tapping on the clip, and we'll tap on that first clip which is the one dealing with the intro and the box. And you see that it highlights the whole clip in white, and on the screen you have a green border. We want to create a gradual zoom effect. So we're gonna use this section here, transform. We tap on partial setting, and that places that diamond shape. That's a keyframe. So that keyframe tells us what zoom level and what positioning will have the video at that time. So we're still in the same zoom level and positioning as the video that we took. So we're going to advance the video until it reaches this green area, which is where the transition kicks in. And we're going to hit here the plus diamond symbol. That adds another keyframe. And now with our fingers, we're going to place them on the screen here, and we're going to spread them, and that zooms in the image. So now I'm going to scroll back so that you can see how the zoom works. So we hit the play button.
Stuka Joe here. Today we're going to take a look at a splendid little war, a game designed by Andy Nunez and published by Khyber Pass Games.
Okay, so we have that first clip. We're going to place another similar effect here for the second clip. So we place it here after the transition. We hit the transform partial setting button. That places a keyframe there. And this keyframe is, we're going to zoom in from the beginning, and we're going to have a smooth panning effect. So we scroll to near the end here where the transition kicks in, and we hit that plus keyframe button, and now we are just going to slide the image here. We hit the done button in the bottom, and we scroll back, and let's take a look at how it came out.
This is a two-player game that recreates the battles
and you see how it is smoothly
Santiago de Cuba during the Spanish
moving,
American
panning to
War.
the right bottom of the map. So now we're going to create a similar effect here. Now we select that third clip, hit the partial setting button, that places a keyframe there, and we are going to zoom in, and we're going to start from the left portion of the map here. And you see these over here, these borders, the green border and the black signifies that you're outside of the frame, so make sure you place it in frame there. Now we scroll to the end of the clip, and again I'll place it here in the border with the transition, and this time we'll have it just pan right until the other border here. So now let's play that clip.
The map shows the city of Santiago de Cuba and its harbor and its surrounding areas. And the map includes forts, heights, rivers, and swamps.
Okay, sometimes you want to cut the clip a little bit. You see there in the clip there is a depiction of the audio. So we know that the audio ends after that, after those lines there. So we're gonna hit the split button here, the scissor symbol. So we split that clip, and we can delete it by hitting the delete button. And now it's going to end there. Now we have to place a transition because we eliminated the transition. So we just hit the transition box, hit on dissolve, and we reduce it to 1 second.
Swamps.
So let's go to the next clip. This one has to do with the unit counter. We're going to do a zoom out effect here. So we're going to place the keyframe here after the transition, and we're going to start zoomed in, and then we're going to end that zoom here before the transition, so we have a couple of seconds fixed at a particular zoom level. And here we are going to zoom out, so we're going to have the same zoom as the original picture. So you see here in the fix area, here in the fit area, in the fit box, you hit it once to fit, and you hit it a third time, and there now you have the complete picture as was taken. So now we'll be able to zoom out. So we hit the
swamps.
Play button.
Here we see a typical Spanish unit, the first company of the Asia Battalion, with a combat strength of 2 and a movement factor of 6.
And now we'll
it
stop.
starts
The
in
zoom will stop.
Fort Canosa.
Okay.
And the first company.
Now this is the movement example. And this one we won't place any zoom. We reach here the transition and the unit moved to the San Juan Hills. Here we'll place a zoom that will start in the middle of the clip. So we hit partial setting and we'll have it go until the transition. And we spread our fingers and we'll place the unit more to the center. So let's take a look at those two clips, how they work together.
And the first company moves from Fort Canosa.
There's a lot of dead time there.
To the position shown here in San Juan Hill.
There you see the zoom. Now there's a lot of dead time. You see the dead time between this position and here. So we're gonna place the playhead there, tap on the clip, hit the scissors button, and we're gonna delete that clip. And now we got to place the transition again, the dissolve
from
transition.
Fort Canosa to the
and so that we don't talk over ourselves, we'll reduce it
Fort
to 1.
Canosa.
And let's see how it plays now.
And the first company moves from Fort Canosa to the position shown here in San Juan Hill.
Okay. Now let's say we want to sometimes change the transition because we're changing topics. So instead of using a dissolve transition, we can place a different transition. Let's place a fade black transition. We just did, so let's take a look here at the fade black transition, which
Hill.
now it fades to black, and we're at
The
some other
Americans
topic.
attacked the Spanish defending Los Mangos.
Okay, so we have here another dead space. You can also reduce it by tapping on the clip, and this white a little vertical line, we can slide it, and we can slide it until the transition starts after whatever we said. So you don't want your voice in that green area because you're going to have overlapping with the voice on the next clip. So let's see how that works.
Americans attacked the Spanish defending Los Mangos. The Spanish retreat across the river, and the Americans occupy Los Mangos.
Okay, so now we're going to place another transition to separate the topics. This is a more dramatic transition, a zoom out transition. So let's take a look at how that works.
Los Mangos. The Americans attacked the Spanish at Fort Canosa. The defender.
Okay, so now we're going to start with a zoomed in image here. So we hit the clip, partial setting, and you can zoom in and also like twist it a little bit. We can twist it a little bit. And now we want it to reach its normal zoom level. So we place another keyframe, and that if you need to delete a keyframe, you just place the playhead on the keyframe, and then there's a minus sign there. We delete it. Okay, now we're going to place again another keyframe here. And now we're going to hit this 3 times, 1, 2, and 3, and we have our normal zoom, which was the one that we used when we filmed.
The
So
Americans
zoom out
attacked the Spanish at Fort Canosa.
and stop zooming there. It
The
disappears.
defenders are eliminated. And finally, the Americans capture Fort Canosa.
Okay, so we have another transition that we can switch. Let's use this wipe down. I mean, don't abuse the transitions, but this is just an instructional video so that you know all you can do.
And south of Santiago de Cuba.
And this particular exercise is interesting because we're going to move the camera or the attention from fort to fort to fort. The way we do it is we tap on the clip and our starting point will be where the transition ends. We place a keyframe there and the narration is going to state each of the fort's names. Let's take a look at it.
South of Santiago de Cuba, the Spanish have 4 forts. Fort Horno.
So you see there where those vertical lines start, that's Fort Horno. So we're going to place the first keyframe here, and then before we start with Fort Horno, we place another one, and we're going to zoom in and move Fort Horno to the middle. And that's why it's good to have these vertical and horizontal lines as guides. So we have Fort Horno.
Fort Centro.
Okay, we know this is where the other fort starts. So Fort Horno, we're going to place another keyframe, and it always places, the keyframe it places is identical as the one before. So this is the last one for Fort Horno, and now we move to the other fort. So we're going to place another keyframe, and that's going to be Fort Centro Benefico. So with my finger, I just drag it to the middle here. And it's going to say Fort Centro Benefico. I'm going to end that here, and the next one I'll place on the vertical line where I start talking, and that's going to be Fort Santa Ursula. And I'll end Santa Ursula here, and the next fort, I'll place another keyframe here so that the attention moves here to Fort Las Canadas. I finished saying Las Canadas there, and then we're going to end with the zoom that the picture has by tapping 3 times here, 1, 2, and 3. Now let's take a look at that effect.
And south of Santiago de Cuba, the Spanish have 4 forts. Fort Horno, Fort Centro Benefico, Fort Santa Úrsula, and Fort Los Canadas. And that was a split.
And this is our last clip. We're going to do a zoom out here. So we place the first keyframe, and we are going to zoom in first, as so, and then we're going to finish around here with the zoom level that the clip brought. So we hit this 3 times, 1, 2, and 3. And then we want to end with a fade to black transition, but there's no clip afterwards. So you hit that plus button here that you see here, and you hit album plus insert blank scene, and it takes you to your camera roll, and hit insert blank scene, and we hit the red circle with the arrow, and here we have the blank scene, and now we place the we hit the transition square, and we place the fade to black transition. So let's play that.
And that was a splendid little war designed by Andy Nunez and published by Kyber Pass Games. And this is Stuka Joe signing off for now. Thanks for watching.
There you go. Okay, let's say we want to place some text in one of the clips. Let's take this unit example here. So we're going to move our playhead there to the beginning, and we're going to hit here the box, or in the bottom, the text, that big T. And we have to our left here this text and a plus sign. So we press that. I have texts, fonts that I've used before. So let's say that I want a new one. I'll hit a new one here. And I'll pick any of these. For example, I'll pick this. So
we see a typical
we're not going to use Warm Autumn. So we double tap, and that takes us to our menu, and we're going to state sample counter, hit the check button, and we want to change the parameters here. We don't like that red filling there, so we're going to hit the style
menu here. And as to outline, we're gonna give it a dark outline, black outline. There we go. And for text color, we want to use white. So there we go. And it has like a shadow, and it turns red. So we're gonna eliminate the shadow, not use it. There we go. If you like the shadow, actually the shadow works kind of cool. So I'll leave the shadow there. So here we go. We hit the done button, and we have our text. Now with this arrow here, you can move the text to see when it starts, and you can stretch it. So I'm going to stretch it so it lasts a few seconds. And also what you can do is by hitting that text box that you see here, you can also add some animation here. Animation. We're going to put place a fade in effect. So we make sure that down here it's in, and we hit fade. Here we see. And then we hit out. So when it ends, we also want a fade out. So there we go. So let's play that clip now. Rivers and swamps. Here we see a typical Spanish unit. There we have our text. The first company of the Asia Battalion. Now it should be fading out. Combat strength of 2 and a movement factor of 6. So we have text there. So we finished. I mean, there's a lot you can do. I just wanted to give you an example. Now we go to the top right-hand corner. You see that arrow there. We tap that, and it's going to tell us our resolution high, 60 frames per second. Now we're going to export it to our camera roll. We hit the button, and now it is making the video. So what I'll do is I'll fast forward till the video is done. So here we are. I've been waiting for about a minute and a half. So we're now at 80%. This program renders video pretty quickly, which is also another reason I like it. And when we finish rendering our video, it will be in our camera roll. Well, there we go. And now we go back. Let's get out of the app. Let's hit our photos or camera roll here and recent. And here we have a 2-minute, 25-second clip. And so let's play the whole thing. Stuka Joe here. Today we're going to take a look at A Splendid Little War, a game designed by Andy Nunez and published by Khyber Pass Games. This is a 2-player game that recreates the battles around Santiago de Cuba during the Spanish-American War. The map shows the city of Santiago de Cuba and its harbor and its surrounding areas. And the map includes forts, heights, rivers, and swamps. Here we see a typical Spanish unit, the first company of the Asia Battalion, with a combat strength of 2 and a movement factor of 6, and it starts in Fort Canosa. And the first company moves from Fort Canosa to the position shown here in San Juan Hill. The Americans attacked the Spanish defending Los Mangos. The Spanish retreat across the river, and the Americans occupy Los Mangos. The Americans attack the Spanish at Fort Canosa. The defenders are eliminated. And finally, the Americans capture Fort Canosa. And south of Santiago de Cuba, the Spanish have 4 forts: Fort Horno, Fort Centro Benéfico, Fort Santa Úrsula, and Fort Los Canadas. And that was A Splendid Little War, designed by Andy Nunez and published by Khyber Pass Games. And this is Stuka Joe, signing off for now. Thanks for watching.
So there you have it. It's very easy nowadays to film and edit wargaming videos straight from your smartphone. The apps are very efficient and highly intuitive, and also they're very inexpensive. And all you need to start is a desk tripod and a smartphone. So please feel free to comment in the comment section. I will be announcing a live stream workshop very soon where I will be doing more exercises and I can answer your questions. And if you want to write to me and ask me any questions, feel free to do so at my email address shown now on the screen. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and this is Stuka Joe signing off for now. Thanks for watching.